Hello and welcome to an all-new episode of Anime Brain Freeze. We are your amazing autumn anime hosts.
I am John.
And I'm CC, and when there's just too much cool anime to watch, we got you covered. It's fall, things have finally cooled down outside, at least temperature-wise. So of course, in this episode, we'll take a look at the tornado of new anime premieres. Does that analogy even work? I have no fucking idea.
I mean, it's hurricane season, so sure.
Yeah, sure. And there's always a lot of stuff getting thrown around, so yeah, I guess it works. But yeah, since we also want to keep the hot summer flame burning as well, at least in our hearts, we'll wrap up the show with our first review from summer season, with the third season of one of our consistently highest ranked shows, My Hero Academia. So prepare for some stormy anime impressions. We'll be right back. So yeah, here we are, and most shows we want to check, or wanted to check out from the fall season, have aired at this point. I want to still check out Ingress, which is due in like 4 days or something. So we'll see if that makes it into our review pool for fall eventually, but we're not going to talk about it here. But other than that, I think we took a look at everything that sounded interesting to us in one way or another. I don't know if you have any leftover thing that you want to check out that hasn't aired yet.
No, I think I hit everything, which is shocking.
Yeah, and you got a lot of shows this time around. I think the previous few times I was like the one starting, and I think we are pretty even out at today. So yeah, lots of ground to cover. And yeah, as usual, we'll get our nopes out of the way, then switch to our maybes, and then talk about the stuff that has the highest potential to stick with us till the end. So, John, why don't you tell us your nopes?
Let's start off with a real hard hitter with Conception.
Yes, that's also one of my nopes.
So, Conception is based on a video game. The first game was released on PSP in Japan. It was never localized. And then there was a much, as far as I can tell, better, more tolerable, that's a good word, sequel on the PlayStation Vita, you know, that handheld that 10 people own.
Yeah.
Raises hand slowly.
At least in the West. It's rather popular in Japan, but...
As well as the 3DS, but you know. So, Conception. On his high school graduation day, Itsuki's cousin Mahiru tells him that she's pregnant, but he's not the father. All right.
Okay. Dodge that bullet, I guess.
Just then a gate of light emerges and transports the two to the world of Granavania. In this world, impurities have been causing a disturbance to the stars, ultimately plunging Granavania into chaos and disorder. And Itsuki, now revealed to be one who is fated to meet with the Star Maidens, is seen as Granavania's last hope and was thus given the task to produce star children and combat the impurities. And first Star Maiden he has to hook up with is his own cousin. Fuck this show.
Oh, she's his cousin. I didn't know that. Of course she is. I'm surprised she isn't his sister. But yeah.
They paint it that way, and it's like, oh, this is going to be disgusting. It's like, oh, she's his cousin, and there's a line in the first episode where she's like, I don't mind if my first time is with you. Ugh.
This is the backwoods Americanized version. I'm sorry. But yeah, this is just a show apparently about a boy who, you know, has to bang like these 12 Zodiac-themed ladies so they can give birth to magical children that can destroy monsters in a dungeon or something, so...
You know what? I never played. We even though we just touched on it, never played the first game since it never came out in the West. I wonder why.
Yes, that premise.
At least in the second game, there wasn't any blood relation, as far as I could tell in the little time I spent playing it. So it's slightly less gross to think about for too long of a time. But let me just say. They fucking cut to the quick in the first 20 seconds of this show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because you just see these silhouettes of these young ladies, and it's just like...
Although I have to say, for such an edgy-driven premise, this is one of the unsexiest shows I've ever seen. Like, nothing in this show looks even remotely erotic or sexy. Like, holy shit, that looks bad.
You know what, though? I wonder if in the original game the main character was a silent protagonist and you're making, these basic text choices, because some of his responses to what's going on seem like, on the one hand he's trying to play off being nice to Mahito, and he doesn't seem like a total scumbag towards her.
Yeah.
That's fine, that's whatever. And then when the most dislikable mascot character enters the scene, he acts as antagonistic as possible toward it, and I'm like, you know what? I'd fucking do that too.
Yeah. Think Monokuma, but not funny.
And less sinister, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not sticking around.
Yeah, but icky character relations aside, this could have been a fun show. Like, if the comedy was alright, and if the edgy action factor was played up for laughs and everything, and I don't know. But this was just boring and lame and not funny and weird and
I went into this because it's worked on by Gonzo, and they also did the Akiba Strip adaptation. I was like, oh, maybe it'll be fun like that. Mm-mm.
And I think Gonzo's working on another show this season, and I assume their A team is working on that, and this one is done by the other crew. So I don't think you'll get too much interesting stuff out of this, even animation wise.
No.
Yeah, so alright. Anything more on your nope list?
I'm gonna out and say it, and I don't know how much you'll dislike me for it, but Radiant.
Oh, no, that is actually on my nope list as well. You'll probably surprised. So yeah, what is Radiant? Tell us.
Radiant is all about Seth. Seth dreams of becoming a great sorcerer. He wants to be powerful and defeat the nemesis monsters that come down from the sky, and it's fucking Black Clover meets Beat the Vandal Buster.
Basically, yeah, with a bit of fairy tale mixed in, maybe a bit of One Piece. Yeah. It's a super standard shonen fantasy show. Like, holy cow, even for me, this is way too by the books.
I hear
the first episode.
I hear in the original manga that Seth, they improved upon Seth's character in the anime, like, because apparently in the manga he's kind of an asshole.
Yeah, I wonder. I think that was for me the most interesting thing about the show, because this is based on a French comic, like on a French I don't know, manga artist. I think it's just a French comic. Which, I was thinking could be cool just in terms of there being the possibility of, maybe slightly different kind of storytelling than your standard Japanese shonen stuff. But so far, this just feels like made by someone who's a big fantasy shonen action fan who loves, all your stuff. Like you mentioned, Black Clover, Beat the Vandalbuster, maybe. It's one of the more obscure ones, but...
I know, but that's what sprang to mind.
Yeah.
Like, replace the word Vandal with Nemesis.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, like I also said, One Piece, Fairy Tail, Naruto, all that stuff. And, he tried to do one of those. And hey, go for it. I think that's cool, especially since it seems to be successful enough to base an actual anime series on that. Which is kind of rare, I guess, with international properties. But yeah, at least for me, I've had some really good shonen in recent seasons with Food Wars, with Hero Academia. Attack on Titan is still running. And there's something in this season that's also super good, which we'll get to later, which took both of us by surprise. And I'm still watching Boruto, which I didn't expect, and I've grown pretty fond of that the longer I stuck with it. I think that show has a lot of stuff to offer that Naruto didn't. I think I'm good for now as far as really default fantasy shonen action goes. I don't think I need this, and animation-wise, it also doesn't look too good. So it doesn't look bad, but it all looks really generic, and it all feels really generic. So I'm sorry. I really was looking forward to the show. I wanted to like it, but it's just so standard fare and not really anything to set it apart from the other stuff. So
Yeah, and that's the thing with Seth, because apparently it sounds like in the original comic he had a personality, not a great one apparently, but they just sort of scrubbed that and made him into generic, shonen
goofy
lead.
Anime shonen lead. Yes.
Oh, yuck, you betcha.
Okay. Hey now, okay. Walk that back, because if we get a shonen action anime with Goofy as the main character, I would be totally down for that.
Yo, Square, where's my Kingdom Hearts anime adaptation?
I wonder. Yeah. I mean, I don't think you want that, considering how other anime adaptations of RPGs turn out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you're
right.
You're right.
There you go then. Well, yeah, but no, that's a nope for Radiant, definitely.
What's next for you? Because I think that covers most of mine.
Yeah, I got a bunch more on my nope list. The first one, Goblin Slayer.
Ooh.
Which is dark fantasy stuff. It starts as like your typical Japanese or tabletop RPG thing. It's like this young party of absurd adventurers that gather for what they expect to be an easy mission. Just slaying some random goblins, which usually are like the weakest kinds of monsters in everything fantasy that you can think of, I guess. But then everything takes a dark turn, and their inexperience gets almost all of them slaughtered or sexually assaulted. Except for one female priest who gets saved by a dark, mysterious, armor-clad warrior, just introducing himself as Goblin Slayer, who helps her, get out of that mess and kill all the goblins. As his name suggests, he's a pro at that. So yeah, it's just like this super edgelord grim fantasy tale that obviously tries to be a Berserk and subvert your standard fantasy tropes, but unlike Berserk, it feels like none of the characters have any ounce of emotional complexity. All the violent and cruel stuff is just in there for shock value without having any substance or meaning to it. And from what I've heard from the manga, the height of creativity when it comes to depicting how hopeless and cruel this fantasy world is just them like showing almost every female cast member getting violently gang raped by a bunch of goblins. And I think I'll just pass on that.
I'm glad you described this so I can more clearly understand it, because number one, I sort of looked at this show before it started and I was like, this looks like generic fantasy tripe, and I passed on it for that. And then I was hearing stuff after, and I was like, boy, I'm kind of glad I really passed on it. But then I saw some people coming out of the woodwork being like, oh, Berserk was all fucking gross and hyper violent, but you defend that, and it's like...
to be fair, I'm speaking from the first episode, right, of Goblin Slayer, and from what I've heard from the manga, so just saying that might turn also into a more maybe interesting complex series, but just judging from what I've seen and what I've heard, this just feels like a show trying so hard to be a Berserk and just being a wannabe copycat. With nothing to offer. And already, like, in the first few chapters of the manga Berserk, I knew there was something special there with the relation between Guts and Puck that was immediately introduced, and how Guts acted and everything, from the atmosphere, from the from the dialogue, from the craftsmanship and everything, and the art that felt so much more special than this. And yeah, and like I said, from what I've heard from the manga, it's just like, okay, we want to show you how dark and cruel this world is. Oh my god, hey, here, I have a new female cast character that is super sympathetic and everything. And we're really going to build her up and make her an interesting character. And then we're just going to throw her to those goblins and have her getting gang raped by all of them. Isn't that like, isn't that dark? Aren't we edgy?
Exactly what you want to watch? Isn't it?
Don't get me wrong. I like my dark fantasy stuff, but please, don't just make it shock and awe. That's all I want. I wouldn't have stuck with Berserk if it didn't have fantastic character development and like great mythology to it and world building. So there you go. There needs to be more than just the dark. And this one doesn't have that. So from what I can tell, the second one, and I don't know why, but I checked out the first episode of Ace Attorney Season 2.
Why?
I don't fucking know, John. I don't know. We reviewed the first season and it was a fucking trash fire. And the second season is not promising any improvement. Like, it's still one of the most cheap, garbage-looking shows ever.
Thanks, Cloverworks and A1.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why I did it. Probably because the cast is sympathetic, and I kind of want to see where the story goes because I haven't played the games, but I don't think I'll make it to the end this time around. I'm pretty sure. I mean, maybe some devil will possess me and I'll keep on watching, but I really doubt it. So
listen, you have insert video game console here. You can just buy the trilogy next year.
I know, but I'm not a fan of visual novels, and also, just like scum saving my way through the game just because I don't get what clues they want me to show them. I might just as well watch a Let's Play or something, but, then I wonder, is it more interesting to watch a fucking Let's Play or long play, or is it better to watch the anime who maybe condenses that down a bit? I don't know. We'll see.
I will concede that some of the cases in the second game dragged, so,
Yeah, but I'm already past the second games in terms of story because the second season is covering the third game.
Oh, I actually didn't realize it went that far already.
Yes, it covered the first and second game in the first season. So,
okay, all right.
Yeah, but like I said.
Also, what's the deal? You bring in Godot, but he's not voiced by Hideki Kamiya. Get out.
I think he's too busy.
I mean, you're probably right, but what the hell?
I wonder if someone asked. He has been on Twitter for a while. I wonder if someone asked him if he wanted to play the part.
I mean, he probably said ask Cloverworks and then blocked him.
Great, probably yes. I hope so. I really hope so. So the last one on my nope list is might also be my first maybe. I don't know. It's I'll just start with this. Maybe this is a maybe this is a nope, but we can just slowly slide in our maybes this way. Show called Double Decker, Doug and Kirill. It's a buddy cop comedy show that is set in the future, kinda, and it's about this young, ambitious police officer named Kirill who gets recruited into the elite unit called 7-0 that hunts down users of a drug called Anthem, which mutates the users' bodies and gives them immense power. And since they always work as a team, that's where the name Double Decker comes into play. And Kirill's new partner is like this cool, hard-boiled veteran pro super cop Doug Billingham. And it's basically about them becoming a team and Kirill trying to survive actually working in that unit, which is not that as easy as you might think. It's also very comedy-driven. The show starts off with Kirill having the typical Titus from Final Fantasy X moment where he's like, "This is my story," and the show's narrator just yells, "No, it's fucking not!" And it was an amazing moment, I admit that. It's cute, it's kind of fun, but it feels a bit unoriginal, just in terms of, I don't know, character setup maybe, and the design and everything it feels a bit hokey. And I swear, when Doug Billingham loads his super gun, they copy-pasted the animation from Final Fantasy Unlimited.
Yeah.
Man.
I remember that shit with the soil gun.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad thing, but it looked better in Unlimited, and that's a much older show, so also had better music. And the story and characters haven't really clicked so far, and I'm already 2 episodes in, so we'll see what I do with the show after the third one. But so far, it's only a maybe bordering on a nope, which, was kind of sad because the summary sounded fun.
I just remember seeing the character designs, and I was kind of like, I don't know, man.
Yeah. Same.
I don't think.
Kind of, it's colorful, but
I was like, I don't know if this is your best Sunrise, but okay.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, but that's it for my nopes. And the first maybe. So, John, why don't you give us your first maybe?
I guess this one is kind of bordering on being a nope as well because I'm very disappointed in it.
All right. Let's hear it.
Senran Kagura, Shinobi Master.
Okay, wait. That I'm wondering what your expectations were for a new Senran Kagura series, though.
No, please let me speak.
Yes, sorry.
So, I don't know if I need to really explain at length what Senran Kagura is. a series of games about ninja girls and tits and ass are involved. That's the long and short of it.
Lots of clothes shredding.
Yes. But I will say, the games have above average, gameplay for basically being simple beat-em-ups. And the relationships between the characters are at least interesting to see unfold. So it's got that much going for it. Shinobi Master, if I'm not mistaken, is supposed to be based on the new mobile game, because there was one of those weird browser mobile games that then got turned into a newer mobile game called Shinobi Master New Link. I don't know. They kind of slightly touched on the first episode on two of the characters that they introduced in New Link. But my problem is, oh boy, this first episode looked bad. It looked really bad.
Who's doing it?
It's headed up by TNK.
Okay.
And TNK have worked on they have worked on such gems as Cosplay Complex.
All right.
And other great high quality pieces of animation. Guys and gals, I like Senran Kagura because it's goofy and it's dumb. I had reservations going into this because when these studios put out their first or second or whatever PV for their show, you're expecting, hey, it's going to show all of the best, keyframes and all the sakuga that you're going to hopefully get. I should have used the red flags were there from very far away. But I was like, you know what? Maybe they just rushed this out, and I'll watch the first episode and it'll be fine.
Apparently not.
I don't know. I will give this maybe one more episode, and if the animation is on the sharp decline that it already started, I don't know if I can continue because the characters look off model. Everything is just so stilted and janky, and it just after the first season was done by a studio Artland. The first season looked great. It looked really legitimately good. So I was like, hopefully they'll be able to carry that legacy forward. No. So this is definitely on the chopping block.
All right. Let's see if the knife actually comes down on this one.
It might.
All right. So my next maybe is IRODUKU, The World in Colors.
Oh, yes.
Did you watch that too?
I did.
Oh, all right. So this is about a young colorblind girl from the year 2078 who, what was her name again? Hitomi, I think. Yes. Who is also a mage, apparently, like her whole family. And she gets back sent to our time by her grandma for yet, I think, unknown reasons yet. I think she hasn't told her why she does that exactly.
Yeah. Well, you go ahead and then I'll say.
Yeah. So, yeah, she comes back to our time, travels via a weird bus or something. And then she initially runs into some problems because she's not familiar with our antiquated ways and tech. But she eventually, tech as in Windows, and how to fucking open them. But eventually she makes it to her family, and she also stumbles into a boy who apparently is able to draw pictures that can actually make her see colors. And I don't really have quite a grasp on what that show is gonna be yet, like judging from the first episode. Like, it could be more of a mystery show to find out why Hitomi was colorblind in the first place, and, how that relates to her being a mage and all that shit. And, which could be cool, and she being, a fish out of water story, like in our time, could also be fun. But this also could just be, a sappy love story where it turns out that all she needed was a nice boy in her life to bring color and happiness into her world, and if that's where it's going, I'm probably out. So this is 50-50 at this point.
Yeah. I want to say that this is probably one of the best looking shows this season.
Definitely.
Like, its PA works, just firing on every cylinder all at once. It looks beautiful.
Especially in that moment where, like, the colors come to life at the end of the
Yeah.
first episode. That was ridiculous. I was like,
And
holy
everything is
shit.
like everything is like watercolor, pastel-y, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh, this looks beautiful.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is supposed to be some sort of commentary that as technology advances, as the quote goes, it's indistinguishable from magic.
Maybe. I don't know. It's hard to say, like I said, judging from the first episode. Like,
Yeah.
what the themes of that show will be.
Yeah. Also, the setup for this show seems really flimsy.
Well-
which kind of, I don't know if it puts me off entirely, because I'm kind of curious to see where it goes, but I'm also kind of like, tell me where this is going so I can decide whether or not
It feels like a
I can
reverse
leave it behind.
It feels like a reverse isekai or something. I don't know.
Except it's not an isekai, it's the real world, and that's weird, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, the weird thing is, at that point in the story, Hitomi doesn't have any real agency. Like, it's just like she's thrown into the past, and neither we nor she know exactly what she's doing there, and only her grandma seems to know. So it's like, why? I mean, we can now guess because she was able to see colors, and that's related to the boys somehow, but not really exactly yet what that all means. But that's also where the interesting part of the show is, and I really hope it has something more to offer than just, like, oh my god, I just needed that guy to draw for me or something. So we'll see where this goes. But I'll stick with it for now and see, at least until episode 3. So, John, what's your next pick?
Because I apparently can't seem to escape the subject of high school romance. I'm going to talk about, how about Bloom Into You? It's all about this young lady named Yu, and she's always loved shoujo manga and awaits the day, she gets a love confession that sends her heart aflutter, and then someone finally confesses to her, and she feels nothing. She's disappointed and confused, and, she... I guess I'd say the confession happens in middle school. After she's disappointed and confused and enters high school, still unsure how to respond to these feelings. And that's when she meets the beautiful student council president Narumi, turned down a suitor with such maturity that she's inspired to ask for help. But when the next person to confess to you is Nanami herself, she's left, feeling very conflicted. And has her shoujo romance finally begun?
Yes.
So, this show is animated by Troika, and the first 2 episodes were sort of like IRODUKU. Beautiful. This show, just looks incredible. It has, a very nice soft color palette, and it just, the characters are all very expressive. It's high school romance. I don't know how far I'm willing to go with it, but it seems like you and Narumi are willing to. Nanami. I can read my own writing. It seems like, unlike most high school romances, they're willing to talk about things.
Oh, shit!
What? So
unheard of.
It feels like it's a bit more mature than advertised on the surface. So, maybe it might be a bit more interesting. I just don't know, how long I'll stick with it. We'll see. I think it had a strong premiere, and it has some good characters in it so far. So, we'll see.
All right.
What you got next, boy?
My next maybe is that time I got reincarnated as a slime.
Good name.
So, yeah, this is the isekaiest of isekai shows, which is weird because that would actually mean I wouldn't check it out, I guess, but I did, so I guess from the premise alone, because it sounds so ridiculous and different, and that was good enough for me. So, 37-year-old Satoru gets stabbed by a random dude on the street, because of course. Yes. Random motivation to send him to different worlds. And yeah, of course, after death, he gets teleported to a fantasy world. And because he muttered some random things while dying, the God Machine Game Whatever system that gets him there interprets that as his wishes for his reincarnation and tries to match it to the standard attributes of, your basic JRPG creatures. So Satoru gets turned into a slime from Dragon Quest, basically. Which would be an awesome premise if he actually had to stay in that body for the entire show and have to deal with that. That would be awesome potential for comedic stuff and, completely subverting a lot of tropes from JRPGs and everything and having a lot of fun with that. But the OP and his random skill set already hint at him being able to absorb and turn into anything he wants to, as long as he touches it with his slime body. So he will gain a human form eventually. He becomes, judging from the opening, like a blue-haired young boy or girl, which could mean that the show eventually just becomes your standard fare power fantasy. He's already impervious, feels no pain, etc. So yeah, you can easily see where this goes. But the first episode was fun, especially the scene where he befriends a giant end-boss dragon who has been banished to a cave and wants to keep up appearances, but is really alone. It's super cute, but I have to see if it has anything interesting to offer beyond that, and if it doesn't get to default isekai at some point, and just, hey, here's this, don't you want to be that awesome character in this fantasy world and just kick ass? I mean, that could also be fun, and the animation in the OP is really good, and in the first episode too, so I wonder if this, if this level can be kept, and maybe then the fights will also be awesome. But I hope there, is more to the character than him being analyzing, oh, I can do this and that because that happens in the RPG. And then he just becomes the most badass of badasses. So yeah, I have to see. I'm not sure. I've only watched the first episode. It was fun. Also, one of the most fun things was one of his Kohais is with him when he dies, and one of the last things he tells him, please take my hard drives and fucking sink them in a bathtub, destroy them. All right, okay. It's amazing. So, if we got more fun stuff like that in there, if it borders on Konosuba, maybe in that regard, that could be fun. It could be fun stuff. So yeah, I'll see where this goes. For now, I'm kind of intrigued. So we'll see. So what's next on your maybes?
Boarding School Juliet.
All right. I think I've heard about that.
I have to say it as posh as possible.
Okay.
Channeling my Jim Sterling.
Oh, okay. That's what you were going for. Sorry.
A little bit, his commentocracy voice.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Close enough. Royston!
So, Boarding School Juliet takes place at the Dahlia Academy boarding school, where students come from two rivaling countries. And they have these on-campus factions known as the Black Dogs and the White Cats.
I see where they're... where they got the Juliet thing from then, I guess.
The story follows Romeo Inuzuka. Mm-hmm. So, does that tell you everything you need to know?
Yes, I guess.
TLDR, Romeo has an unrequited love for Juliet, and he calls her out one night, and they have a sword fight. And in the middle of crossing blades, he just blurts out, I'm totally in love with you. And it's we're just going straight to that. And you know what? There's something charming about this show. It's because these, obviously, it's just a Romeo and Juliet story. Duh. But I like that Romeo is trying to keep up appearances while being I really like you, even though you're on the other side of the fence, though. And there's something endearing about how stupidly goofy, over the moon he is for this girl that he can't openly be with. I don't know. It's silly, and I kind of like it. I don't know if I'll stick with it. I will say that for Leiden films, it looks surprisingly good.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Let's see if it stays that way. I mean, there were There were some episodes of Arslan that looked good, but like out of, I don't know, how many did we get? 26, maybe 2. So, just, wait for it, I guess, or don't hold your breath.
Yeah, that's why I went into it with a little bit of trepidation, let's say.
At least said about, the last adaptation of Berserk, the better, and they were also responsible for that. So, at least in parts.
But yeah, I don't know if I'll stick with it, but it seems like it could be dumb, goofy fun for what it is.
Mm-hmm. All right.
What you got next?
My next maybe is Release the Spyce.
Oh, that was my next pick.
Yeah, all right. Oh, it sounded like a surefire keeper for you, so I wasn't sure. But yeah, it's basically, to boil it down, it's a fun show about a bunch of lady ninjas in the current day fighting shady organizations and robots. And they all can activate their special powers by biting down on special herbs or spices or something. I mean, it's in the name, I guess. So yeah, and there's this young girl who, is aspiring maybe... I mean, she doesn't know exactly because she doesn't know if she's up to it, but she's maybe aspiring to becoming a police officer because her dad was, and he seems to be dead now. Don't know how that happened yet, but maybe one of those shady organizations will be involved later on down the road. But yeah, she's kind of recruited into the ninja organization because she has a special skill where she's like able to... She has a very keen sense of smell and taste, and she basically just has to lick a person to know their constitution, I guess, how they feel and everything. So yeah, weird power, but not.
It is very peculiar.
Yes, but interesting. So yeah, this just seems like a cool, fun show in the vein of Princess Principal, maybe, which I enjoyed a lot. I think you did too. So yeah, I'm willing to stick around for now. I've only watched one episode, but that was fun, so we'll see where this goes. Maybe this will be keeper, maybe not, depending on the next 2 episodes we'll go. But yeah, what did you think about it?
I thought it was, silly and cute, and that it looked really good, and I'm interested in seeing more of it. I have to make a lot of concessions this season, probably to skip on stuff for the sake of time. So this, I don't know yet if this might be one of those, but we'll see.
Same for me, I guess. So what's next on your maybe list?
Well, it's time to bring up my personal burden once again.
Your baggage.
I've brought this on myself. One of my friends asked me if I was going to hate watch this show, and I said, I'm in so deep that I just have to know. So here it is again. Hello, darkness, my old friend. It's Sword Art Online Alicization.
Which started off with a double episode, which was good because if it had only been the first one, I would have had no idea what the fuck is going on.
Yeah, same. Inside an unknown VR environment, Kirito spends his days as a child with his friends Yu-Gi-Oh and Alice.
Which we haven't met before in real life, so I guess there may be constructs of the VR system. We don't know. We don't even know that's a VR system in the beginning. It just feels like, okay, what is this? No idea.
Yes. One day, these 3 explore a cave in the outskirts of the human territory and get lost, ending up at the boundary of the dark territory. The 3 are witnessing a fight between a couple of dragon knights, and Alice trips and falls, and her hand touches the dark territory, and she is sentenced by the Integrity Knights to execution. Kirito attempts to stop Alice from being taken away, and Yu-Gi-Oh is paralyzed with fear. And soon after, Kazuto awakens in the real world with no memory of what happened. So later on, Kazuto is talking with Shino and Asuna about how he's basically been drafted into this super secret science experiment that's going to further the field of VR with this full dive technology called the Soul Translator. And it's, Jesus Christ, it's a whole bunch of stupid techno babble.
Yeah, brain tubes.
Brain tubes, and where's your soul stored in your brain? And Jesus, shut up, Kawahara.
Yeah. Was that? But that tech was already teased at the end of the movie Ordinal Scale, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Ordinal Scale is meant to lead into this, which makes me wonder how much of Ordinal Scale they're going to incorporate into this, because I'm pretty sure OS was just an original story, wasn't it?
I don't know. I have no fucking idea.
I'm going to make a hard statement right now. We're not going to pause the recording for me to do any off-mic research. I'm going to say with 90% certainty that Ordinal Scale was its own original story.
Right.
Because it's interesting, because you see during the intro sequence that Yuna is in there.
Mm-hmm.
Which I was kind of like, all right. So on the way home, Kazuto and Asuna are attacked by one of the remnants of the Death Gun crew in Gun Gale Online. I can't remember what they're
Laughing Coffin.
That's it. Thank you. By player Johnny Black. And Jesus Christ, Kazuto reaches behind his back for his sword, and I was like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, okay. I'm willing to suspend my disbelief when it comes to sword art, like, a lot. But, you know, even without having the sword, the entire movie, Ordinal Scale, made a point of Kirito having to learn to do actual, battles in real life.
Yeah. That was actually interesting.
Yeah, and he can fend off a guy with a syringe? Yeah, okay.
I want to ask Kirito, what was your game plan going for his knee instead of slapping the syringe out of his fucking hand?
Yeah.
So
he had didn't he have like a fucking umbrella or something?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, so he could have just opened that and just kept the guy at bay, and then, I don't know, call for help or something until you can, like, kick the guy in the shins? Jesus fucking Christ, what the hell? I don't know.
So this episode premiered on what is apparently Kirito's birthday, and he died. Happy birthday, Kirito!
Happy birthday.
So
looked like fucking Yamcha lying there.
So I guess they're basically gonna put him back into the machine so that they can try and save him.
Yeah, I wonder. And then his consciousness may be trapped in that, like, simulation, and Asuna and the rest have to get him out of there and something. Yeah, I wonder. Or have to get in there to, like, make him come back. That could be interesting, you know. I'm more interested in what that actual beginning of the story was, like how that is connected to anything, because it felt so far apart from everything else that I wonder what that is even supposed to, like, set up and where it is supposed to go. I mean, the girl is called Alice, and this seems to be like kind of Alice in Wonderland themed in general. Like, there are a lot of terms throwing around related to that.
Well, they fucking hammered that home as hard as they possibly could.
Yeah, so I wonder what else they're gonna put in there from that story, and yeah, where this all goes. This is the most interesting part. I don't really care about what happens to Kirito and his king at this point. Kinda. I mean, if he lives or dies, I can take it or leave it. I don't give a shit. But I'm interested into the the mysteries that the first part of the premiere episode, like, promised or set up. So we'll see. It's Sword Art. It could go either way. We could get an Alfheim or a Phantom Bullet. We'll see what this turns into, and if I have the patience to stick around and find out. And I think you feel the same way.
I can't wait to be on Kawahara's wild ride for the next year.
Is it supposed to go that long?
It's a 4-core show.
Holy fucking shit, I didn't know that. Oof, okay.
Yep.
All right.
It was announced as such before it started airing, and I immediately fell into despair.
Settle in, folks. Jesus, get cozy, I guess. All right.
Not going anywhere for a while. Grab a Snickers.
So, all right, I think we are through all through our maybes. And go to our, probably gonna keep those around. That's too long, so let's just call them our all-ins, I guess. Yes, so my first all-in is, of course, and I'm very sure it's on your list as well, Golden Kamuy Season 2.
Yeah!
Not much to say here, because we talked about that in our previous, review season. Like, the story continues kind of exactly where it left off. It gets instantly super fucking weird.
We start off the first episode talking about boners and Golden Kamuy's back, baby.
Yeah. Bookie to the max. Yeah, good stuff. Also, a guy dressing up in a skin suit who looks super weird, like it's fucked up.
Yeah, Edo guy seems like a special kind of.
Yeah. It's all great. It's all fun, amazing. The animation is still jank, but I think we both like / love it regardless. I mean, it was your pick for best of spring season, so yeah. I'm ready to hunt for some gold with these guys. Go Kamuy. Fun as ever. Yeah, what's the next on your list? On the first besides Golden Kamuy on your all-ins?
Space Battleship Tiramisu Zwei.
Right, that was coming up.
Following the aftermath of Subaru's battle with his brother Isuzu and the resulting re-entry into Earth's atmosphere, the two crash land on the planet's surface. Subaru's mech, the Durandal F, is left a complete wreck, which leaves Subaru a complete mess. He's lost without a cockpit to shelter himself in. So Isuzu says he'll lend his brother the use of the Karyukeion's cockpit until it's impounded.
Tough luck.
Suzu decides to park it on a street corner, and then in the next frame, it's gone. Oops.
Womp womp.
The two are apprehended by Earth Union soldiers and forced into a reunion with their exceptionally eccentric father, Soichiro, who says he will give Subaru his new creation, the Neo Durandal.
Of course.
But Isuzu doesn't agree with Earth Union's ideals, and chaos ensues. Holy shit, plot is emerging in the second season.
It seems you did not expect that at all after you've watched the first one.
No, because the first one was just dumb and goofy and stupid. And I mean, there were inklings of plot sort of going along, but it feels like stuff is happening in between all the goofy shit.
I mean, it's short form, right?
Yes, it's 7 minutes an episode. It's a quick watch each week. But, I don't know. There was something that really grabbed me with the first season enough to make me be like, you know what? I'll check out the second season. So I just want to see how much dumber it gets, because it's just a gag show at its core.
It sounds like fun. And I mean, Space Battle Luluko also got a bit of plot in there at the end. So maybe it's going
that is true. That's true. And it was an even shorter show.
The possibilities are endless for Space Battleship Tiramisu. The next all-in on my list is SSSS.GRIDMAN.
I checked that out too.
Yeah, so I've heard. So this is an anime adaptation of a tokusatsu show and it's done by Trigger. Maybe Western viewers are more familiar with the name Super Samurai Cyber Squad, which is probably why they stuck the 4S in front of the Japanese name Gridman. Yes, the cyber in Cyber Squad was spelled with an S, go figure.
Yay, 90s. Thank you, Saban.
Yeah, probably looked better abbreviated than SSCS, maybe. But yeah, if you have, heard or seen Ultraman before, this is kind of that. Like, it's giant dude in a kind of space suit, maybe, fighting giant kaiju monsters. And Gridman is kind of like more computer and cyberspace themed, as the name implies. Our main character, young Yuta Hibiki, wakes up without any memory of who he is or what happened to him. But apparently he is the only one, at first, who can see the giant kaiju attacking the city, and the cyber agent Gridman, who asks Yuta to help him to destroy the creatures, because it's his destiny and everything, and his calling. It all feels very familiar if you've watched the original Super Samurai Cyber Squad. But it's got a very nice tone and look to it. The show was very good at building this dense atmosphere in its first episode. Really good looking backgrounds, very cool character animation, some really nice, like, quiet, small scenes that felt really natural in terms of animation and staging and everything. Like, for example, that scene where I'm sorry, I forgot her name, the female main character, who, you know, is hanging out with her friends in a classroom, and that scene, like, one of her friends has her arms around her, and that felt, I don't know, that felt more natural than in other anime who, like, depict that kind of stuff. That felt like, okay, these feel like really normal, natural, you know, schoolyard friends and everything. I don't know. So I really liked the atmosphere in the first episode, and of course the action was great. It looked really good. Of course, not a fan of the CG, but it's definitely one of the better examples in recent years. So yeah, I'll stick around for this one. It looks quite cool. I don't know. What did you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I have zero nostalgia for Gridman and or Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad. Jesus, that doesn't roll off the tongue. But I was looking at, like, some comparisons to, like, the original show and just seeing, you know, the parallels between the two. I was like, maybe looking it up afterward will make for a neat comparison piece, just to, you know, see where it came from. So I'm interested in watching more of this.
And despite what, you know, Frank's was, I'm still interested in Trigger's output. And this is not a co-production. I think this is completely Trigger's thing. So I wonder where this is going. But so far it looks very promising and fun, cool character roster and everything. And yeah, I liked it. I liked it a lot. So we'll see. Your next all-in.
Skullface Bookseller, Honda-san.
Oh yeah, I've heard about it. This is also short form, right?
Yes. It's all about a guy who's a skeleton, and he works in a bookshop, and he helps people find books, and, you know, it's a pretty mundane comedy, and it makes me question why the people who go to this store don't wonder why a skeleton is helping them.
Don't worry about it.
But yeah, I mean,
it's fine.
It's a very silly show with sort of a minimalist animation style that I think, you know, what they're going for, really, it works in its favor. It's, I don't know how to describe it other than, you know, it if you look at it, it is what you see on the surface. So okay. I think for what it is, it'll just be, you know, a fun 10 minutes a week to watch and see how Honda-san deals with helping people find different books.
It sounds like he has real trouble fending off Fujoshi.
Yeah, that first episode was filled with all sorts of ladies asking him for books about BL.
Well, if you are a Japanese book clerk, you have to deal with that, I assume.
It's true. It's true. Especially the very American father coming in asking him for a doujinshi, and it's like, yeah, we don't have that.
Sounds great.
It is. It is great.
Sounds like fun. So I imagine. I mean, you always are wondering whether you should review the short form shows, right? Or
yeah, it's tough because, you know, they are short and they just sort of appear and disappear each season. You know.
Maybe next season, if you have Tiramisu and this one under your belt, maybe you want to do an episode where you quick fire review those shows, so that it gets to the size of a normal review, I guess.
It's a thought.
Yeah. All right. Okay. My next all-in is Run with the Wind. And it's about a young boy named Kirill who gets kind of recruited by a fellow university student called Haiji to join his dorm that is populated by a bunch of colorful characters. But once he has moved in, Haiji reveals his true motivation. And it turns out he needed a 10th man to enter the Hakone Ekiden, the most prominent college relay marathon. And now Haiji is trying to convince all of the crazy characters who are not necessarily sports people or in any way into athleticism in his dorm to train with him for the run, and he is not afraid to use the most underhanded methods he can think of. And some of those methods made me probably laugh the hardest from all of the premieres this fall. It's really good stuff. And yeah, the show, by virtue of being college, not in high school, again, much more interesting. Don't have this often, and the characters are, older and in parts, are from all different age groups, actually. Kagura is a first year, we got one who should be finished and graduated at this point, but who is kind of slacking off, and, you know, that all feels really very familiar.
Slowly raise his hand.
So, yeah, there's a lot of different, you know, people. There's a giant-ass nerd who, his entire room is, like, made of piles of manga, and doesn't want anyone touch them because they're very delicately piled up and could, you know, fall over at any moment. And he's the least, but he's not remotely athletic. So he's just basically in there because Haiji needed 10 people. And those are the people he knows. So he got them all in this under false pretenses. And now they can't escape for several reasons. So this like, the first 2 episodes were fantastic, were super fun. Like I said, everyone in the cast is super sympathetic. And this is a production IG show with many people from Haikyuu working on this as well. So it looks super good. And yeah, it just seems like a really great sports anime, a bit more on the slice of life side of things than, you know, your shonen-driven thing and tournament-driven thing. But yeah, with this cast and looks, that is totally fine with me. And I had a blast with the first 2 episodes. So yeah, this one is definitely a keeper for me. I'm looking forward to seeing more of it.
Cool.
All right, what's next on your list?
So next up is a show that I have been waiting almost a decade for, and that is A Certain Magical Index 3. And it's kind of hard to just jump in and talk about the starting point for 3 since we haven't had an opportunity to talk about...
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Exactly, because it's been so long. Even since Railgun.
Even since the movie, which I still haven't watched.
Well, get on that, I guess.
I probably should. we haven't talked about Railgun or Railgun S either. And Jesus, as soon as this show aired, they were like, "Oh, hey, Railgun 3 and an Accelerator spinoff are coming too." And it's like, Jesus, you're going to announce Index 4 at the same time too?
Yeah, I mean, for a while they did nothing, and now here, all of the things.
Yeah, basically. I mean, I'm one of those guys who's more of a fan of the magical side than the science side, because the science side, that is to say the Railgun side, for those of you who don't know, is a bit more supplementary to the magic/index side. It's more like background stories and some stuff that fills in the gaps from the main story. But, you know, it's still there. In part, and still, you know, you can watch and get your fill of the Railgun Girl. So I'm going to keep this as brief as possible since the story of Index is quite dense. Index is basically set in a world where supernatural abilities are a reality, and there are mages that use, you know, just regular ass magic, and espers that
they're like psychically powered, gifted people, kind of mutants. I guess it's like psychic powers. Some of them use like scientific implements as well to augment their powers a bit. And obviously, you know, we can't have a world where both magic and science exist. So the story takes place in large part in Academy City, which is it's like an artificial island city that is west of Tokyo. That is known for its educational and research institutions. Enter our hero, Toma Kamijo, who is a very unassuming student in this academy city who discovers his right hand is imbued with the power called Imagine Breaker, which has the ability to negate any supernatural power, but also negates his own luck, much to his own chagrin. So one day Toma runs across this young English girl named Index, a nun from Necessarius, which is a secret magical branch of the Church of England whose mind has been implanted with the, oh boy, Index Librorium Prohibitorium,
which are 103,000 forbidden magical books that the church has stored in secret locations. His encounter with Index leads him to meet others from the secret worlds of magic and science. And Toma's unusual power places him at the center of the conflicts between the magicians and the espers who try to unravel the secrets behind Academy City, Index, and Toma's own special power. This is a light novel.
Yes.
But
if you couldn't tell.
But you know what? There's just something weirdly engrossing about the story for as overcomplicated and as confusing as it is. It's hard to not like Toma just because he is a very unfortunate soul who is just sort of set down in the middle of all of this stupid horse shit. And, you know, he doesn't really play both sides, but he's trying to not be the bad guy in the middle of things. So, this season, there's a bit more exposition before we can move on. This season starts after an attack on Academy City by God's Right Seat, who are a bunch of mages who are in service of the Catholic Church. Oh yeah, by the way, there's different branches of the church involved, and that overcomplicates things as well.
Naturally.
The crux is that Toma's friend, if you can call him that, Tsuchi Mikado, says, hey, we got to do something about all this. We're going to France to take care of what is essentially the Catholic Church's magical network. And Toma is dragged along for another crazy adventure. So that's the long and short of it. And, you know, it's, like I said, it's crazy. It's overcomplicated. It's a light novel as fuck. But it's fun. I don't know. I've just been waiting 8 years for this, so I'm excited to see where the story goes. Because
has it been 8 years since season 2?
Index 2 aired in 2010.
Jesus fucking Christ. And I haven't even checked that out yet. I've only watched the first season of Index, so I'd have to revisit that because I don't remember much from it aside from the characters. But
get on that.
We'll see. The chances are low. But, you know, you never know.
I mean, that's fair. My backlog is strong, too.
Yeah. But yeah, it sounds fun. And from the first season, I liked all of the characters well enough. So I don't even know why I didn't get into the second season. But there was some reason. But yeah, so it's definitely one of the better light novel adaptations. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So what's next on your list?
One that I think is maybe on your maybes or your nopes. I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. And that is Zombieland Saga.
Dude, I'm so on board for this show.
Okay, all right. I'm relieved then.
I mean, I watched the first episode and I was like, I don't know about this. And then the second episode aired and I was like, all right, let's go.
Yeah. The first episode you were like, okay, this was a thing. And I'm like, oh, wait, okay. John maybe doesn't like it. But yeah, this starts out like your typical idol show. You know, spunky main character girl who is interested in idols and wants to be a singer and everything. And then she runs out of the house and gets run over by a fucking truck. She then gets turned into a zombie by a weird asshole manager Frankenstein, and then has to perform at a death metal concert with her other not yet fully awakened zombie sisters, and she fucking nails it. Or they do. And yeah, I thought the new seasons of Golden Kamuy or JoJo's would be the weirdest premiere for this season by default, but along came Zombieland Saga, and here we are, and I love it.
Well, they were playing it off as being like this big mystery. It's like, oh, Zombieland Saga has a 96% approval rating, but by who? What is this? Yeah. What is this about? What are you selling us? They even had Kotaro's voice actor Mamoru Miyano do this like live action segment where he's trying to sell the show to you, and like the character that he's playing, it's just himself because he's just that
yeah, it
goofy.
feels like it. Yeah, it's great. Like, it feels like some anime committee was sitting around a table and someone asked, how can we make that CC guy finally watch an idol anime? And yeah, the simple answer, you make it as crazy and weird and out there and funny as you can, which is what they did. And I love it. So far, we have like gotten a different musical style in both episodes that I've watched. The first metal, the second rap, both performances were fucking great. Like, they went all in on that.
I'm really hoping that there's a performance of a different genre in each episode moving forward, because that would be incredible.
Yeah, that would be great. And it feels like this is what they are going for. Like, you know, Cowboy Bebop style, put a different musical style in almost every episode, and in the name too. So, yeah, so far, this seems what they're going for, and they're nailing it. It's fantastic. Like I said, the metal track was great. I mean, I'm not for the growling and everything when it comes to my metal, but just the atmosphere and the energy was fantastic in that scene. And then the fucking rap battle in the second episode was amazing. And I'm not a rap guy, so that's saying a lot. So yeah, and it's like using this tried zombie gimmick in a very refreshing way and funny and ridiculous. And yeah, the manager Kotora is a giant crazy piece of shit, but incredibly funny. And he has a weird zombie monster dog. And yeah, so far this show has made everything right to like completely pique my interest. And yeah, I don't know what the show will actually like turn out to be and where it wants to go. But so far, I've loved everything I've seen. So what more can you ask for, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's got me on the hook.
Yeah, I was expecting you to go there anyway, because as soon as I heard this is an idol anime at heart, I was like, okay, John is in. But
I didn't remember reading that offhand. I was just like, oh, you know what? I don't know what this is about, so I'll check it out. What the fuck did I just watch? Jeff Thu posted earlier on Twitter that his opinion of the show is that it's a great black comedy as well as being a searing indictment of the idol genre. And it's like,
oh yeah,
it's like, yeah.
Yeah. It feels like I didn't want to like immediately jump there because I'm wondering, okay, let's see where this goes. But this feels like one of the harshest takedowns of that actual culture, like in real life, and how, you know, Kotaro acts as the manager and everything, and the girls being actual zombies. You know, it's pretty blatant in its messaging when it comes to that. I just like, okay, we'll see what the actual like consensus at the end of the show will be, but so far it's like it's really vicious. So I love it. I think it's great, and I hope it stays as strong as its first two episodes were. So yeah,
I hope the quality stays up too, because this was probably another one of the best looking premieres to me.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it looks fantastic. All right, next one on your list.
Next, well, I think the next one was another one I wasn't expecting either, but I got in really hard, is Karakuri Circus.
Yes, same for me.
So this little boy, Masaru Saga, he's an 11-year-old kid, inherits his family fortune after his father is disappeared. And he's targeted by kidnappers with bizarre and deadly puppets. He's escaped, but he escapes from them because he's aided by this circus employee, Narumi Kato, who appears to him on the street in this big-ass bear costume.
Yeah, he's doing advertisements for the circus.
Yeah, the Straw Circus, I think it was. But the kidnappers catch up with them, even though they're on a train.
Yeah. And Narumi is a martial artist, apparently, so he can at least fend some of them off.
Yes. And it seems like when all is lost, the two are saved by this mysterious Shirogane, who decides, hey, I'm going to wield this puppet that is within Masaru's huge-ass suitcase, and she just kicks all kinds of ass and doesn't bother to take names. And
yeah, her outfit is also very unique because she's like this yellow, red-dotted trapeze artist outfit.
Yeah.
It looks super weird, but it's cool. Like it's weird. It's different. I like it.
I dig it.
Yeah, me too.
So I didn't know what to expect going into this, but god damn, the action in this show was, at least in the first episode, was incredible, and it also kind of had me on the hook because the music is done by Yuki Hayashi, so I was there from moment one.
Yeah, I didn't know anything aside the name. I usually go into most premieres blind, but this one too. And I was blown away. This is completely up my alley. Great action choreography and animation, and the artwork is cool, and the characters are great. And, this is the shonen stuff I, pine for. And the whole time while I was watching the first episode, I was like, man, this looks a whole damn lot like the Ushio and Tora remake by MAPPA. Mm-hmm. Well, it turns out it's based on a manga by the creator of Ushio and Tora, Kazuhiro Fujita. And it's animated by Studio Vaughan, who actually teamed up with MAPPA to bring us the Ushio and Tora remake, which I adored. I also reviewed that in our show. So like the name implies, I'm all in on this one. I can't wait for the next episode. It's creepy and cool, and it looks great. It's just great shonen action stuff. And I can't wait to see more.
I'm totally on board for this.
Yes. Nice surprise. All right, so I guess the last pick for both of us then is no surprise. It's been a long time coming, and it's been a while. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Part 5, Golden Wind.
Yes!
And yes, what can we say, at least, in short form and from only watching the first episode, about JoJo's that we haven't said in our reviews of Parts 1 through 4? Just like Zombieland Saga and Golden Kamuy, it's weird and fun and funny, as it's always been. And I didn't know this was directly connected to the early parts, but Koichi from Diamond is Unbreakable travels to Naples to find the son of Diodu, who is named Giorno, and who is our new main JoJo. And he is a good-hearted but kind of shady person. Like, he's a thief and a con artist. But Koichi runs into him, and, they have some trouble, and... But turns out, of course, Giorno has a stand, which is pretty overpowered already, even in on the JoJo scale. But it's a bit leveled down by the fact that the stand apparently doesn't really obey Giorno yet. Seems to appear and disappear at will, kinda. So he's more of a wild card at this point. And those two clash, and then we also get introduced to one of the scary new villains, who's also great and creepy and everything. Like, I don't like his power. It looks really gross. But I just love that Joseph is back. I can't wait for all the crazy and creative stand battles, and I have no idea where the story is going with this one. Just I didn't know for Diamond is Unbreakable. I was only slightly familiar with the story up to, part 3, Stardust Crusaders. So this is all new territory for me, but I can't wait to, dive headfirst into all of this. And I was a bit worried that Toshiyuki Kato is not working on this time around because he is busy with Captain Tsubasa right now. But it seems like it worked out regardless. The first episode was great, and I just want more JoJo's. And I think you feel the same.
Oh, look. Anytime JoJo Fridays is back is a good time.
Oh, yeah. JoJo's Fridays is a good Friday.
Yeah, I mean, I only have a cursory familiarity, probably about the same level. I played through, what was that PS3 game, All-Star Battle? But that game mostly heavily focused on parts 1 through 3 and sort of glossed over 4 through 7 on a very surface level. So
some characters were in there, but yeah.
Yeah, so about all I know is what we've seen so far of Giorno and Bruno.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, more JoJo's, inject it straight into my veins.
Yeah, do it. I can't wait to see more. I mean, it sounds dumb or bad saying JoJo's isn't for everyone. At least I have one friend who says JoJo's what's too weird for him. But it's got this very special brand of creative weirdness that just is totally works for me and is fun and just throws surprises and interesting plot developments and cool characters at you with every episode, or at least every arc of that show. So I can't wait. I want more. I'm really looking forward to see where this one goes.
Yeah, most definitely.
JoJo's is back, and we are happy.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's it for our sneak peek. And it's time to get into our first review from summer season. All right, My Hero Academia Season 3. And since this is also our third review of Hero Aka, we don't have to talk about the story setup and production side of things and can just sit back, relax, and have a nice, loose chat about this season. Of course, as with all our continuous series reviews, all previous seasons are fair game when it comes to spoilers, so be aware of that. We will, of course, also talk about some basic story stuff for Season 3, but we'll try to refrain from spoiling anything here. So, John, what were your overall impressions of Season 3 when compared to the other two seasons?
I think they finally sort of kind of nailed down the pacing, just because, you know, the first season was glacially slow, as we have said at length. The second one, I don't know if I would say it felt really fast in comparison, but this one it felt like
it did.
Yeah, this one it felt like they sort of gave things their due time, didn't really linger as much, you know, as they would have earlier on.
Yeah, I would say it would have been maybe better if things were switched a bit around. Like, so, the show starts off with basically this really, really strong first half that is like really action-packed, like two big serious things happening in the very beginning. Really emotional, really heavy, really a lot of important stuff happens. A giant climax that has been built up from the beginning. And after that, we get a pretty like laid-back kind of training tournament arc. And then we get like one episode with another big climax, at least character arc-wise, that has also been built up from the very beginning. And then the show peters out a bit by setting up stuff for the fourth season, and it's like last 2 or 3 episodes. So, you know, just in terms of, you know, it going in waves was a bit better pacing-wise, but maybe it should have started a bit slower and ended on a more faster note. I don't know. You know, a lot of people, not a lot of people, but I saw some people complain that like the last part of this season couldn't really live up to like the explosive events in its first half, and that it felt like the show, you know, went a bit not downhill quality wise, but downhill like event wise in terms of what was happening in terms of story developments.
Yeah, I get why people would say that.
I mean, I didn't mind it, but I wonder if things, you know, if more people would have, you know, like unequivocally would have loved the season as much as I did, or we did, if, you know, they would have been able to change this around a bit.
I just think there was, and I get why they did it. I just thought it was a little strange, right? There was an odd sort of break toward the end to say, hey, go watch the movie.
Yeah, it's like this one small lead-in episode that is definitely in there just for the movie. And, you know, that is set in the middle of, like, this tournament training thing, like, after a kind of, I mean, not story-wise, but kind of serious turning point of the exam thing that happens. And
yeah,
it's like,
I
okay,
honestly
what the fuck?
feel like they should have said it before that.
Or make it like a small OVA special at the end or something. It was like, okay, now we have a special episode that leads into the movie. But I guess time-wise, they had to do it there because the movie was coming out at that moment that you know, the stuff was airing, and they were shifting it maybe around a bit. Maybe it was planned to be at a different side, but then the movie release date got shifted a bit back or forward. But it still works out, in my opinion. You know, overall scene. So let's talk about the arcs of this season in a broad sense, kind of. So we have in the beginning, in the very first, just like a thing that is set up like in the first couple of episodes, like a training arc, because the class has to go to summer camp and learn to make better use of their powers and everything. And that quickly, very quickly, turns into a nightmare for them because some things happen in regards to the villains set up in the first 2 seasons. And, what happened, we get the Shigaraki and the beginnings of the League of Villains in the first season. And obviously it's related to that. And in the second season, we got Hero Killer Stain. And his ideology and agenda and everything leaked out, basically, through mass media into the public and inspired a lot of people and villains that were kind of hiding in the shadows to a specific degree and were not open about, or were not, making use of their power to a certain extent and didn't bond and form teams and everything and were just doing solo stuff. And through the stuff that Stain did and how that got publicized and how the public reacted to that and what an impression that left in regards to how the heroes reacted to that. All of that had an effect on the villains in the society and now comes to kind of a critical climax, as in these characters, some characters bond and become a team, and now, one of the, let's say, puppet masters behind the scenes has kind of an army growing, and they set things into motion. And yeah, that's what happens. And that is pretty much like the first third of, or first quarter maybe of this season. We got like 26 episodes, I think.
Yeah.
As a whole. So this is a longer one, just like the second season. And yeah, this is just the first arc, like, that happens in summer camp is super strong, in my opinion. I really, really liked it, just from it suddenly going, like, completely, like, ape shit. Like, everything is on fire, basically. And it had one of the strongest emotional comeback moments for one of our main characters, where everything was just so perfectly staged, just in terms of emotional high point, in terms of battle choreography, in terms of animation, in terms of music, everything working together perfectly. I've watched that specific moment, like, I must have watched it like 6 or 7 times at this point, at least, because it's
great.
Fucking good. It's fucking good. It's as good as shonen can fucking get. It's like we've always said about Hero Academia. The show is so good at doing everything, or a lot of things that have come before, and like perfecting them and making them the best they can be. And that counts for this season 3 especially. And this is one of, like, that scene, that fighting scene is one of the examples. Like, fucking watch that scene with your sound system all powered up, and like the composer Yuki Hayashi reaches new heights in this season, in my opinion. There's one specific theme that gets played for the first time, I think, in that special scene, and that is so good. Like, even after watching it after the 5th time, that scene managed to pull at my heartstrings. Like, and the voice actors are so fucking amazing in the scene too. Like, everything is so well done. It's amazing. I just can't sing its praises long enough. Like, it's probably my favorite moment in the show, or one of my favorite moments, definitely. It's up in the top 3. The first arc had this, and a lot of other cool stuff, and leads directly into the next one, because something during that summer camp arc happens that spurns the heroes into actions, because they have to act on it. And also our main characters, not only the senior heroes, like established heroes, but also the class members. And yeah, that directly leads into a giant battle that has been teased from the very beginning, kinda. And a development, that we all saw coming, but not that quickly. I did not expect this particular thing to happen already when it happened. Like, this early in the 3rd season, this early in the story, honestly. So, I don't know, were you surprised, too, that we already got that confrontation so soon?
I figured it wouldn't come for maybe, like, another 2-3 seasons, I don't know, but when they just like out and did, I was like, oh shit, I guess this is happening now.
And I was really afraid. You don't really know what's really gonna happen. Like, it's all bets are off, and anything could happen, and that's really tense and thrilling. That also was a fantastic battle and really emotional, and especially, even more so than the battle itself, the fallout from that is super important to the story, and everything that entails for our, young heroes, for our main characters. For the hero society as well, for the villains as well, for our pair of, maybe our pair of two main characters or three main characters if you wanna count Midoriya, All Might, and Bakugo as the main characters at this point. This is such an important development for all of them. It's so interesting to what this leads to and what this builds up and what this sets up for the future of the show. I loved everything about this first half. It was fantastic. It was like almost non-stop, and that's what I meant when I said, okay, when in the first half we get this non-stop story, action climaxes, emotional climaxes all over the fucking place, and then we kind of get to take a breather, which is also nice. But for some people, maybe this was like, okay, are we not going to continue at this pace because now we get used to this? Maybe I don't know. But as I myself was kind of welcoming the breather that we got after that. I don't know how you felt about this. After so much emotional, harrowing stuff in this first half, that we maybe got a bit of a quieter arc after this.
Yeah, I was fine with, being able to breathe after that. Because the lead up to the end of that second arc is it just has you sitting there like, oh, what's going to happen? Because it was I thought it was very tense, but it obviously kept you hanging on till the end of it. So,
like I said, everything that results from that is super interesting, but does not immediately get picked up after that. I mean, character development wise, yes, especially when it comes to Midoriya, All Might, and Bakugo. That relationship gets a very, very important development, like in the last quarter of the show, and a moment that has also been built up from the very beginning, and that I also wasn't expecting to get so soon. Because, like, holy shit, okay, we got like these giant emotional climaxes in both in this season, which I didn't expect either of those to happen already, because it felt like, okay, they're gonna build this up forever, and then they're gonna spring this on up. No, both of this already happened now in this season. It was so crazy to me. And also what that results into is also interesting. But before we get to that, we get like this small kind of tournament, kind of training arc where our heroes have to get like their provisional exams, which allows them to do actual kind of licensed hero stuff under the supervision of senior heroes. But it's not like the internship where they had to completely obey the orders of their superiors and weren't supposed to be put into dangerous situations. But this time around, once they have their licenses, they're allowed to, actually do some dangerous hero stuff, some genuine hero stuff.
Which is kind of interesting, considering in Japanese you hear them referring to it with the borrowed word intern.
Yeah.
Which it seems a little confused, but
Yeah, I wonder. But yeah, that's what happens, and we get basically like this kind of. I mean, the second season already did the kind of sports series thing with the what was it called?
UA Sports Festival.
Right, it was called the UA Sports Festival. Yeah, we got kind of a sports themed thing already there, and this is kind of in the same vein, because we get like what you get in sports anime often is like, okay, everything is building towards this this battle between schools where they go to the infamous inter-high competition, where like a bunch of schools from the same region compete for being the best in that region, and this is basically kind of the precursor to that, because a bunch of hero schools from all over Japan meet for this provisional exam, and we get a bunch of new characters introduced who might or might not become more relevant later in the show. For now, there's like, okay, here are these. This is a much bigger universe than you expected. I wasn't weirdly enough, I wasn't even aware that there were other big hero schools beside UA Academy, kind of.
Yeah.
But there are, and, UA is just the most prestigious one, which also plays into the exam. But, yeah, apparently there are a bunch of other hero schools and a bunch of more heroes, and they're competing for to get their professional licenses in this arc. And, it's just fun, kind of laid back, because it's not that serious, it's not life-threatening or everything. Of course, they all want to get their licenses, but, it's not life or death like it has been for the, entire first half of the season. So, yeah, it's nice, and we got a bunch of cool new characters that have a lot of potential. So we'll see where those go. It's not sure how many of those will later pop up in the story again. But, we can make a few assumptions who will be relevant again later on. We get a fun new character called Mrs. Joke, who is has a kind of previous relationship with Eraserhead, and I like their dynamic a lot. After that, we get this short episode-long, maybe emotional climax that I was talking about before, that is related to our main three characters. And then the last 2 episodes or something are, like I mentioned, the setups for season 4, where we get introduced to the big 3 that are the third years, the senpais. And one of them is the most promising hero out there, who's, I think they say he's basically or has the chance to be behind Endeavor at this point, just in terms of potential. Mirio. And he has a very unusual power, but the way they explain that and why he is the best of the best in UA and everything holds a lot of potential. And I wonder where the show goes with those characters. Just there's so much interesting stuff set up in this season, as well as bringing a lot of things to a close that I didn't expect would come to a close so soon. Got a lot of dangling story threads wrapped up, and a bunch of new interesting ones set up at the same time. And that's so cool. I love that about this season, how much it did to still keep me invested in this show. I don't know, how did you feel about the new setups? I mean, we also get stuff, for the villains that's probably come very soon.
Yeah, I mean, there was a part in one of the final episodes where one of the villains is kind of pondering on the nature of his existence, and it was interesting because we haven't seen that side of any of the villains before. They've all been mostly says, "We're bad," and he's going around just sort of thinking to himself about the nature of his power and how he uses it and what it means to him. And it was really, really cool, and I wouldn't mind seeing more of that.
And I mean, we already know there's more to Shigaraki than was let on in the beginning, just in terms of character relations and everything. There's a lot of there's some big stuff revealed there. But yeah, it's just cool to also see the villain side of things, to give them a bit more depth and everything, and to also use a lot of them again after what we saw of them in the first season and the first half of season 3. Okay, we have this core cast of villain characters that are gonna be our other main players, aside from the heroes in this show. And then, there's also this thing set up, just in terms of, because there's some information leak and everything, that there might be a traitor in UA Academy, and that hasn't been picked up again, but I'm very willing to bet that it will be in later seasons. I don't think the manga's creator will forget about this, or has forgotten about this, so this is definitely going to be brought up later. So I wonder where this goes. Who of the characters, if it's going to be one of the established characters, if it's a new character coming in, who knows? If it's something else entirely. Just like I said, there's so much interesting stuff happening in this season, just in terms of things possibly happening in the future. And that's great. I mean, what more can you ask for? I mean, the show doesn't infinitely dangle the inevitable plot developments in front of our faces. It wraps them up tightly, or at least some of them in this season. And then it gives us a bunch of new stuff that we can fucking clamor for. And I don't know when the fourth season is going to roll around, but I can't wait.
I like that, not only have we talked about there's like a shifting dynamic between Midoriya, Bakugo, and All Might, but there's also sort of another shifting dynamic with another character. I don't know if we should talk too much at length about that, but...
Broadly, sure. You can mention it.
Okay. About the dynamic between Ochako and Midoriya.
Yes.
And how she comes to this realization that it's got to be one or the other for her future, and she decides, I want to be a hero. And I was like, that's admirable. That Horikoshi didn't compromise on that. It's like he had her make a very decisive choice, and I was like, that's great. That's really good. And I'm glad that, it's not just her waffling, over and over to herself about her situation. So I'm glad about that.
Yeah. And at the moment, she seems to keep her resolve. And I wonder if she can keep this up. And if she doesn't, if they can, bring that plot point back in a convincing way and not make it okay, it's just typically wavering back and forth, that you see in a lot of other shown relationship plots or when it comes to those relationships. So, yeah, I wonder. But so far, it was a really interesting, turn of events and everything. And I wonder where he is going with this and what this is going to entail. But yeah, you already started talking about one of the characters. Just in terms of development, I think Bakugo got probably the best or brunt of it in this season. What happens to him in the first half, or the first part, the summer camp thing, and what that leads to in a second, and then what happens at the end of the first half of the show, because that's very important to him as well as Midoriya. And again, what that leads into with the second big emotional climax in the second half. And his relation to Midoriya, his relation to All Might. All of that is really important stuff to the plot of the show, to the character relations of the show. And if you've told me at the beginning of the show that there would come a point where I would actually, find Bakugo sympathetic to a degree, I would have called you a dirty liar. But yeah, that's what happened, and here we are. And I would not have expected this to be possible, but yeah.
Yeah,
great.
I still think he's kind of a shithead, but
he kind of is. But we now know where that is coming from, and that is a very convincing, motivation for him and why he turned out this way. It's not okay, he's just a shitbag for being a shitbag's sake. Which to be fair, I didn't expect from the beginning, but I also didn't expect to make such a convincing argument to why he turned out that way and actually make me feel for his situation. And it actually, at least partially, managed to do that.
It was nice where there were scenes where you could see him sort of swallowing his anger and his pride and being like, yeah, all right. Those sort of situations. That was character development. Oh.
Yeah. He's still incredibly emotionally immature and unstable and, an asshole to Midoriya, but things start to change at this point very drastically and very importantly. The actual development in the character relationship between those two will be slow and tough and everything, but it's there. The groundwork has been laid, and it was all done very convincingly. And maybe I would have liked if the actual confrontation would have been longer than one episode, maybe. But it was cool, and it was a long time coming, and was pulled off well. And I finally see where he's coming from. And the way they make everything that happens in the first half count towards his character development and make it make sense was really good. And I really liked where they were going with his characters for this. And I did not expect to come away from this season actually liking at least parts of Bakugo. And yeah, that's what happened. So good on you, Hero Academia. You still managed to surprise me several times with each of your new seasons. So yeah, of course, Midoriya gets some interesting development. More straightforward, I guess. There are not that many turns for his character. I mean, he has to figure some things out, definitely. But that is more in terms of figuring out how to be a hero and what that means to him, instead of, changing his opinion to a lot of the other characters. I mean, like I said, there's some of the stuff related to Bakugo and everything. And, that changes some of his outlooks on things as well. But, it's mostly him figuring out what, let's say, his destiny, right? And, so that's the interesting part about him and his relation to All Might and, how all that is connected. And, of course, All Might also, this is probably his season. This is like, if it's not Bakugo's season, this is All Might's season, because this, like the first half, or everything that leads to the end of the first half is basically like, okay, this is All Might's arc. This was what we have been building up towards, and this is what needs to happen. And we'll see where it goes from here, because now everything is possible. Everything can happen at this point, and that's also very interesting, kind of scary. But it's the show doesn't rest on its status quo, which I always appreciate in anime. And it takes the characters through a logical evolution, which is still somewhat surprising in certain aspects. Some of those I didn't see coming. And I like that. I like that. I like that it all, when you look at it, it makes sense how these characters behave and how they evolve and everything and develop. But you didn't see all of this coming from the beginning, because it subverts some of the typical shonen tropes. It's some of the typical character development tropes and everything, puts them on their head. And, a picture that you formed on certain characters at the beginning of the show and where they would end up gets turned on its head.
Yeah.
And, I think it's one of the things I love most about this show, that, it just can keep you guessing at certain points. It does the standard stuff that we are used from other shonen shows, like the best it can possibly do, and still manages to do a lot of things differently. And I cannot even imagine how to ask for something better or something more when it comes to... I am a giant shonen action fan, and My Hero Academia, just in terms of being classic, what you could consider classic shonen action show, just in terms of what it has in it, in terms of story tropes and everything, just has everything I want and does everything perfectly, and some things better and differently. And I hope that train keeps on rolling, and I cannot imagine how the fourth season will surpass the third one, but I already said that after the second one, I think. So, I mean, everything is possible, I guess. I fucking love My Hero Academia. There's no doubt about it.
It's great. I went into it with no expectations when it first started, and it's like, just keep it coming. Just give me more. Of course, obviously Bones probably finishing working on Mob Psycho, among other things. So we probably won't see a season 4 for a couple more years, but that's fine.
I don't know. I mean, they've already announced it, so that's a step up, I guess. But yeah, you're right. So there's Mob Psycho on the horizon. And
they were probably also working on the movie at the same time.
Oh, yeah, that's true. So, yeah, we'll see. But we know it's coming. That's all that matters. And we know it's going to be good, like 99%. I'm sure that it's going to be good. And I just hope that Horikoshi, creator of the manga, of the series, knows when to stop. From what I've heard from the manga, so far he's always found a new way to tell us more interesting things about the characters. Obviously, in the show, until this point, they've always managed to do that. Of course, there are some characters who was like, okay, can we finally go maybe a bit deeper into those? Because those have just been side characters up to this point. I maybe would have a more important arc with Tsuyu get some of her background because I really like her character. So, but so far she's just been a side character. And there are a lot of one from the A1 class that have been kind of dead. They're cool characters. They're fun characters. But a lot of them have been like more, simple side characters. But from what I've heard from the manga, that he keeps on bringing new interesting stuff to the cast and new and interesting developments, and always managed to tell something new that we didn't know about these characters and do something interesting with them. So if he's been able to keep that up until now, I hope he is able to do that longer, or once he notices that he can't, he brings the story to a logical conclusion so that stuff doesn't get drawn out too much.
Yeah.
Which you could argue about a lot of other shown action shows. Like Naruto could have been a lot shorter.
Yeah.
And, you could have ended that thing at the pain arc, I guess, or even earlier than that. And Bleach was a very bad at the end in that regard. There was a show there is like that, like really at the end, nobody was interested anymore, or in the manga either, apparently.
Well, I feel
really
bad because he basically got bullied out of Shonen Jump. So, Kubo had his story he wanted to tell, and they were just like, yo, finish it now and get out, that sucks.
But yeah, so there are a lot of shonen shows that overstate their welcome. So I really hope My Hero Academia doesn't turn into this, because at this point it's just one of the best thing, if not the best thing in that genre out there. And I mean, there's still Hunter x Hunter, which I like a lot, really, but I still would rank My Hero Academia higher than that.
Plus, Togashi is consistently busy playing Dragon Quest, so...
Yeah, there are a lot of hiatus on that. So, and there's not even a new anime adaptation for the manga on the horizon for that. So, but My Hero Academia, we've been getting at least semi-consistently for the past years. So, that's getting me my shonen fix on a consistent basis, and it's just the best shonen fix I can possibly imagine. And I can't imagine a show reaching those heights anytime soon. Not even Attack on Titan. I like that new season a lot, and we'll get to talk about that in the next season. But, My Hero Academia is so my jam. That show was tailor-made for me. With its superhero theme, all the themes that's put in there, its look, its animation, its characters, its music, like everything is screaming, CC, watch this, or you'll die.
Oh, that's extreme.
Of neglect or something. But, yeah. So, this is definitely one of my favorite shows ever of all time. And I hope it stays that way. I hope it doesn't falter. I hope it stays as strong. And he can't hear me, but I urge Horikoshi to please give this a good ending. Please finish the story once you have told what you want to tell, and bring this all to a logical conclusion. I don't necessarily need a happy ending, although we already know from the beginning of the show where Midoriya tells us this is the story of how I became the greatest hero on Earth, that this is gonna be happening, but we don't know what happens on the way there, which is the interesting part. So yeah, please, I hope My Hero Academia stays as dynamite as it has been for the past 3 seasons. Third one maybe being my favorite up to this point. I don't know if it's your favorite season?
It's such a tough call.
It is. The second season was also really good.
Yeah, can I just say both the second and the third?
Sure. You don't have to pick favorites. But, I think we have said pretty much everything there is to say about this without going into too much spoilery stuff. And maybe we'll talk a bit more about the highlight moments of the show once the 4th season has run its course, and we can talk freely about the 3rd season. And, then we'll maybe talk about at least the big 2 moments of this season in more detail and why they were so amazing, maybe. Mm-hmm. But yeah, if you haven't checked out Hero Academia yet, please, what are you doing? God, I urge you, I implore you, go and fucking get into the show.
I went to New York Comic Con with a friend the other week, and I promise this is related. We went to the Bandai Namco booth and they had a demo up where you could play My Hero 1's Justice. The game is pretty fun, and my friend agreed, or our friend agreed. He's a mutual friend. And I was like, hey, why don't you watch the show? And he's like, I watched one episode. God
damn it. Yeah, I mean, as an action shonen fan, as a fan of cool characters, a fan of good animation, as an anime fan in general, you're doing yourself a disservice if you are not watching this show, in my opinion. If you are not, get on that. Seriously, if there's one show I would recommend to everyone out there who is into anime, it's this one. Definitely, without hesitation, without any reservations. Just go out there, watch My Hero Academia. So far, it's been a blast. And I have no reason to doubt that the 4th season also will be fantastic as well. And we'll talk about it once it's here. And that is a wrap on the 60th episode of Anime Brain Freeze. All the music in our show is from the Double Dragon Neon soundtrack by the amazing Jake Kaufman. Please go to vrt.bandcamp.com and check out his awesome work. Our show is available on most of the popular podcast services, but it's always worth visiting animebrainfreeze.com for some interesting articles linked in our episode release posts. Follow us on Twitter at AnyBrainFreeze. We tweet regular updates and fun anime-related stuff there. Leave us comments and questions on Facebook and our YouTube channel, or send an email to animebrainfreeze@gmail.com. We would love to read your feedback. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you had a good time, and please join us again on our next show. Macht's gut.
See you later, everyone.
Next time on Anime Brain Freeze.
A beach volleyball battle to be the best in Japan.
And only possible in anime, intense badminton action.